let us have a look at a typical product life cycle. So the question, if it comes, how many stages are there in the product life cycle? So you will say there are 4 stages. Although I'm going to discuss the other ones also, wherein I'll explain you how come we have more than 4 stages also. But if in the exam the question comes, how many stages are there in the PLC, you are supposed to mention 4 only. So what are these 4 stages of a life cycle? So the very first stage is the introduction stage. When the product is introduced in the market, it enters into the market, right? Then second is the growth stage. When the product sales starts picking up, the volumes are increasing gradually. And then when the numbers are gradually increasing, we'll see that the product is experiencing growth. Then comes the maturity, when the growth stops and then the product sales hits a plateau, and then eventually from that particular height it starts going down, and this is where the decline stage starts. So theoretically, technically, and generally talking, a product goes through 4 life cycles, 4 stages in a life cycle. Number 1, introduction. Number 2, growth. Number 3, maturity. And number 4 is decline. Now I'll explain the graph as well. On the y-axis you have the revenue or the profits mapped, and on the x-axis you have the time. So time means vis-a-vis to the time from the time the product is introduced to the market till the time its last unit is sold. So the red line is showing you the revenue, and the green colored line is basically showing you the profits, right? So as you can see that the red line starts somewhere over here, and gradually the growth, the movement upward is slightly upwards, not very steep upwards. So the gradual growth till the time when actually the slope actually increases, then till then we can see that the product is in the introduction phase. So the product is just being introduced in the market. Now it will gradually get acceptance. It will actually gradually gain awareness amongst the people, and then once people are aware of the products, it is then when the sales will start picking up quickly. And when the sales starts picking up quickly, then the growth basically comes. And once the takeoff of the sales is there, and once it starts again slowing down, and when you see that, okay, fine, now the growth in sales is not that much, then we can see that the product is entering the maturity phase. And then eventually when the sales starts decreasing, we will see that the product is going through the decline phase. So this red colored line is basically representing what actually happens to the revenue when the product is going through the various stages in the life cycle. So revenues are just barely there, but then revenues drastically start growing in the growth stage, and then revenues are almost stagnant when it comes to the majority state, and eventually in the decline stage revenue starts falling. What happens to the profits? Now, generally, that's now the graph that you have in front of you is a generic graph, and in today's world, there are different types of PLCs also. But to understand the basic concept, we'll stick to this particular graph, right? So the green line indicates the profits. Now, as you can see that this is basically starting beneath this axis line, which means that when the product is launched, initially there is a loss. Anything below this particular portion, so this much portion that you can see is basically loss. So at some point in the latter half of the introduction phase or in the beginning of the growth stage, sometimes the profit will actually cross the zero line, and then you will be experiencing profits. And from here on, we will see the experience we'll have an experience of profits. And somewhere around the growth and the maturity stage, as you can see, that the profits will max out. They will be maximum. And when the maturity stage is there, during the maturity phase, the profits will start declining. And eventually, by the time you hit the decline stage and you decide to withdraw the product, and it is basically the decision comes because of this particular half, this part of the line wherein the profits are nose diving and there are no profits at all. So that's what the basic is. Now let's have a look at the 6 stages of PLC. Now many a times you must have heard that, somebody saying that, okay, fine, a PLC has not 4 but 6 stages. It is there, but How come 6 stages? Now, as you can understand, before the introduction of the product is there ought to be some stages wherein you develop the product, you do the R&D, you design a product, you work on the product before launching, the pre-launch activities before the product comes in the market, whatever activities we contributed by the development phase now is being added to the PLC, right? So during the development phase, the product has not yet entered the market. So this blue line that you can see is depicting the point. Now this is the point where the product is basically being launched in the market. So that is why till the time the product is launched, you are only spending money, money and money so that the product comes into the market. That is why the entire line, the green line, which is before the point, before the point we are launching the product, will be below the 0 point, and then this is all loss. This is obviously loss. This is somewhere after you are introducing the product, then the line rises up. Why? Because the revenues have started coming in. So when the revenue start coming in, this profit line starts going up, and during the growth phase, it starts growing decently, and somewhere in the maturity phase, it peaks out like what we have seen in the last graph. Now there is one more stage added, that is the saturation phase. So in a 6 stages of the PLC, you got 2 stages added. One is a pre-launch stage, that is the development phase, and the other one is a phase between maturity and decline, is wherein the saturation comes. So saturation phase is a phase wherein it is very, very difficult for the marketeers or the brand to have more sales. So if